It's 8:30 a.m. and Desiree Ray Fixler is just waking up when her phone starts blowing up. First 1, then 2, then 3 notifications. She grabs her phone, sees that it's the Wall Street Journal, and she opens the app. It's live right now. This is the moment she's been waiting for. After months of working with the journalists, she finally gets to see the fruits of her labor. Her face still half asleep, she scans through the article. It's about her. It's about her fight against her former employer, DWS, and it details how they lost $650 million due to the Wirecard scandal. She smiles a little bit, but also remains calm and composed. It's not over yet. She still needs to get answers from her board. But first, let's rewind a bit and figure out how we got here. It all started at the end of 2021, when Desire received a call from a journalist at the Wall Street Journal asking if he could reach out to her regarding the Wirecard scandal. For those who don't know what that is, Wirecard was a German payment processing company that collapsed in June 2020 after admitting that $1.9 billion in cash that they reported didn't actually exist, and it was quite the scandal. Germany's financial watchdog failed to spot the fraud, despite having had multiple red flags raised to them. Regulators were too busy dealing with the fallout from the global financial crisis to really pay any attention to what was going on. And as a result, the CEO of Wirecard was able to pocket €180 million before the collapse, while investors and customers were left high and dry. And it wasn't just some random payment processing company either. They were one of the largest of their kind in the world, ranking 47th on Forbes' list of the largest public companies in Germany, and 37th on 4chan's Global 500 list of the largest companies in the world. But anyways, back to Desire. When she received the call from the journalist, she had already been thinking about going public with her story, so she didn't hesitate to say yes. You see, Desire worked at Deutsche Bank's asset management arm, DWS, which is what the initials stand for, and she was responsible for ensuring that the firm adhered to environmental, social, and governance standards, better known as ESG, when making investment decisions. Basically, she was in charge of making sure they weren't putting money into sketchy companies that didn't align with their values, or so she thought. What she didn't know was that DWS had made an investment into Wirecard back in 2015, and by 2018, this investment had become one of the largest holdings in the fund, accounting for 4.5% of its value. How did this happen? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The people responsible for making investment decisions were the same ones who were supposed to be adhering to ESG standards, and they weren't doing either job very well. It was basically a conflict of interest and a failure of corporate governance. Desire wasn't the only one who thought this was a problem either. In fact, a couple of other employees brought it up as well. One employee even went to HR, but nothing came of it. Then, in early 2019, one of Desire's colleagues decided to take matters into his own hands. He compiled all of his evidence into a PowerPoint presentation and sent it to everyone in the organization. And just like that, a whistle was blown. The problem was, no one did anything about it. The employees who spoke up were ignored or brushed off, and was actually demoted as a result of hers. After this happened, decided that enough was enough. She wanted to do something about it, and she knew exactly how she could do that. She reached out to the Financial Times and gave them all of her evidence. They published a piece on it and suddenly became the hero of the hour, at least in the media. She was interviewed by everyone from the BBC to the New York Times, but behind the scenes, things weren't looking so good. A couple of weeks after the article was published, her phone started ringing off the hook and she kept getting called into meetings with her bosses, who all had the same message for her. They wanted to know what she had told the Financial Times, and they demanded that she retract her statements. Of course, she refused, and they retaliated by stripping her of even more responsibilities. Eventually, they fired her. And throughout all of this, Desire was just getting started. You see, when the Financial Times ran their story, they had mentioned that Desire had been demoted because she blew the whistle on DWS, but the reality was far different than what was portrayed in the media. She hadn't been demoted because of that. In fact, she had been demoted before she ever spoke up. DWS wanted to fire her, but they couldn't do it without a good reason, so they made it seem like she had been demoted because of her whistleblowing, when in reality it had nothing to do with it. They thought they could get away with it, but Desire wasn't having it. She had been demoted for speaking up and fired for refusing to retract her statements. and she wasn't going to let them get away with it. So she filed a lawsuit against them, and just like that, the battle began. She hired lawyers, gathered all of her evidence, and prepared for the fight of her life. The funny thing was that DWS didn't think she would actually follow through with it. They thought she would eventually back down and quietly accept a severance package, but she didn't. In fact, she doubled down and spent the next year digging deeper and deeper into what was going on. She wanted to know how Wirecard got into the fund in the first place, and why DWS did UN take action when they found out about the fraud. She also wanted to know why they continued to invest in Wirecard, even after the scandal broke out. The deeper she dug, the more she realized that there was a lot more going on than she had initially thought. There were emails, spreadsheets, and documents that proved it. She saved all of it onto her computer and prepared to go to war. By the end of 2021, she had everything she needed to make her case. When she reached out to the Wall Street Journal and provided them with all of her evidence. They wrote a detailed report on it, and it was published on March 8, 2022. The article highlighted how Desire had uncovered a series of questionable transactions involving Wirecard and how the company's executives seemed to have profited from them. It also showed how Desire had been trying to raise the alarm about this for years, but no one had listened to her. Instead, she had been punished for trying to do the right thing. This is where our story picks back up. Desire is reading through the article on her phone and smiling ear to ear. This is what she has been working towards for the past year and a half. And it is finally happening. The truth is coming out, and the world is starting to see what a corrupt organization DWS is. But she knows that the battle isn't over yet. The article has put a target on her back, and DWS will be coming after her next. Still, she can't help but feel a sense of relief, knowing that the truth is finally being told. The next day, Desire heads into work and she can feel the tension in the air. Everyone is talking about the article, and she can hear people whispering about her behind their backs. She tries to focus on her work, but she can't shake off the feeling that something bad is about to happen, and she's right. Later that day, she gets called into her boss's office, and she knows what's coming. They want to fire her. They were hoping that she wouldn't fight back after the article was published, but she's not making it easy for them. She knows all of the ins and outs of DWS, and she is not afraid to use that knowledge against them. She digs her heels in and refuses to leave. She is determined to get answers from her board, and she is not going to rest until she does. As the days go by, Desire becomes more and more anxious. She can feel the stress building up inside of her, and she doesn't know how much longer she can handle it. She needs to get to the bottom of this, not just for herself, but for everyone who trusted DWS with their money. She had tried to do the right thing from the very beginning, but she had been punished for it. Now she's being blackmailed into keeping quiet, and the only way she is going to be able to escape this nightmare is if she can get the truth out. Desire was just an ordinary person who had tried to do the right thing. She wasn't a millionaire or a celebrity. She was just a normal person who had been wronged, and she wanted justice. Her story is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who seem the most ordinary, and that if you speak up against injustice, you might just be the person who makes a difference.